KHOU 11 Plus, your news starts now.
Tragic news for the city of Houston and the nation as we've learned that U.S. Congressman and former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner died this morning in Washington, D.C. Mayor John Whitmire made the announcement this morning at the city council meeting.
Congressman Sylvester Turner, our former mayor, state representative for 24 years, passed away last night. Pray for his family. Join us in celebrating this remarkable public servant. Celebrate his life, which we will be doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ron Trevino.
And I'm Stephanie Simmons. We've been on the air all morning long, working to learn more information and getting reaction from leaders, both here in Houston and across the country.
Just incredibly sad news. He's a lifelong public servant from the state Senate to the U.S. House.
In the last 15 minutes, we've gotten an update from Turner's family, giving us new information on his passing. In a statement, his family said in part, quote, while attending the address in Washington, D.C. last night, Congressman Turner was taken to the hospital and was later released. On Wednesday morning, March 5th, at approximately 5:45 a.m., he died at his home from enduring health complications. The family went on to ask for prayers and privacy.
You might be most familiar with his work as mayor of Houston, and today Turner's former colleagues announced news of his passing. Victor Jacobo was at City Hall as that announcement was made. He joins us live from there now. Victor.
Yeah, Ron and Steph, City Council turned into a bit of a eulogy for Sylvester Turner as it started with Mayor Whitmire making that announcement that you saw a few minutes earlier. They took about a 1-hour break, came back, handled the business of the City Council agenda, and then in the traditional pop-off that City Council handles, each of the council members took time to share their thoughts about the loss of Sylvester Turner and their memories of him. Many of the folks who sit in this horseshoe have worked with him or have known him in some capacity, either the public service or otherwise. So when they were speaking about him, many were speaking through tears and in between sobs and sharing a lot of emotion, speaking not just about his public service, but the person he was and the friend that he was to many of the people here, even some describing him as a close mentor. Take a listen to what Mayor Whitmire and some of the other council members said earlier today.
If you knew him, you could tell that he was not at his best. He was often challenged and in pain, but again, he was a champion while challenged. And I think that that was what I want to keep in my mind about Sylvester Turner, that no matter the challenge, he kept being the people's champion.
Now, that was a different side, but Mayor Whitmire described him as a close colleague, even working closely with some of the campaigns over the years, and a close mentor. Mayor Pro Tem Cassex Tatum, also emotional, as well as Councilmember Tiffany Thomas. Now, Mayor Whitmire did announce that the flags will be at half-staff at all city buildings to honor Mayor Turner. I'll send it back to you in studio.
A sad day at City Hall. Thank you so much, Victor Jacobo. Well, Turner dedicated his life to serving his hometown of Houston, and all day we've been hearing from people who say he never forgot where he came from.
Especially the Acres Homes community where he grew up. Our Jason Miles joins us live from that community right now. And Jason, you spoke with Bishop Dixon, one of Turner's oldest friends and biggest supporters. A lot of emotion after this news.
Yeah, Bishop Dixon first met Sylvester Turner back when Dixon was just 18 years old, so they've been pretty much lifelong friends. Dixon telling me he got a call early this morning about his good friend's passing. He says it was somewhat of a shock, given he just saw Turner over the weekend. Turner participated in the rodeo parade and was at a recent NAACP gala here in town. He also spoke with Turner over the phone in the last couple of days. He says it's hard to capsulize or summarize Turner's service to not only this particular community, but the entire city of Houston, his current congressional district, even amid, as we know, Turner's recent illness.
If you knew him, you could tell that he was not at his best. He was often challenged and in pain, but again, he was a champion while challenged. And I think that that was what I want to keep in my mind about Sylvester Turner, that no matter the challenge, he kept being the people's champion.
Bishop Dixon getting a little emotional there. We also stopped by the Acres Homes Multi-Service Center this morning where news of Turner's death spread. I spoke with several longtime constituents and friends there. A senior citizen meeting happened to be going on. They say no matter the event, be it a political function, wedding, funeral, street party, Turner always showed up. And if you've covered Turner like I have over the years, you know, at those street parties or other events, he wouldn't get out there and join people in line dancing and other things. He always enjoyed that and was very jovial on many occasions. Obviously, many in this community and elsewhere mourning his passing. Speaking of the Acres Homes Multi-Service Center, that facility and other city facilities will be lowering their flags to half staff today at some point. Reporting live from the north side, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Jason, thank you. A lot of reaction and statements continuing to pour in on social media from people who knew him well.
Yeah, Gochi Aloka joins us now. Gochi, these posts are coming from far and wide with condolences and fond memories of the congressman.
Yeah, so many elected officials as well as community members have expressed just how heartbroken they are of Congressman Sylvester Turner's sudden death. That includes Councilwoman Tiffany Thomas of District F. She told me just 2 hours ago they were very close when he served as Houston's mayor for 8 years. She says she remembers their late night calls and laughs. If you take a look, Governor Greg Abbott is also responding to Turner's passing, sharing this statement. He says Congressman Turner was a man of character who served his fellow Texans for more than 36 years and that he'll be missed. Then Harris County Attorney Christian Menefee stated, "It's hard to put into words the loss of Congressman Turner when he devoted his life to public service, standing on the pillar of strength." The Houston Police Officers Union also said Turner improved the lives of many Houstonians and will be deeply missed. Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner Adrian Garcia posted on X his thoughts and also with Turner's loved ones during this very difficult time. And there's even more reaction pouring in that we will continue to follow. And I wanted to shift gears here and share my personal interactions with Congressman Turner back in 2022 when he was still serving as Houston's mayor. I had the honor of hosting the city's first Houston African Energy Summit. Mayor Turner told me he wanted Houston to be an international energy hub, and diplomats from several African nations were there. I also helped host Houston's African Day celebration when he was mayor, and I just really remember him being so kind and friendly to myself and my mom. He got to meet her at the ball, and you heard Jason Miles say he could cut a rug. He was doing it that day, and will be greatly missed, especially his energy.
Yeah, he loved to dance.
He did.
Loved to dance. All right, thank you so much. We will have much more coverage on the life and death of Congressman Sylvester Turner coming up. You can also read more about Turner and his legacy right now on our website, KHOU.com.
All right, it is 12:07. Let's get a check on the forecast now as we take a live look outside on this breezy Wednesday afternoon.
Kim Castro's here now. Kim, what about the winds? Did they clear out?
You know, they haven't completely left us, but they're a lot better than where they were yesterday. Current sustained winds are anywhere between 15 to close to 20 miles an hour. Tomball right now, northwest breeze at 18 miles an hour. The gusts are still up and over 20, closer to 30 actually, 28 in Conroe, 29 the current wind gust right now at Hobby Airport. If you're in Sugar Land, you're feeling some wind gusts at 26. That said, a lot better than those wind gusts yesterday that got to 50, even 52 miles an hour in Conroe and Huntsville. Bush wind gusts yesterday clocked in at 47 miles an hour, Hobby 45, and that dragged in a lot of pollen. The tree pollen category right now, it is high. Look at the rest of the categories. Grasses, weeds, and mold spores, all moderate, so that is likely contributing to that itchy, scratchy throat, the runny eyes, the runny nose, but luckily that wind didn't do too much damage with that dust that was being flung around from the hill country. Our air quality is still in the green for Harris County. It's good, and it's in the moderate range for Matagorda and a portion of Brazoria. Current temperatures right now, our neighborhood weather network has us at 65 degrees, Glen Cove Street and Rice Military. Up in Spring, we're in the low to mid 60s. How much warmer do we get today under all that sunshine? I'll have those answers for you in the 7-day forecast.
All right, Kim, thank you. Be sure to download our free KHOU 11 mobile app to follow the forecast. We'll be right back with more coverage after the break.
Be
after the passing of Congressman Sylvester Turner. He died early this morning in Washington, D.C.
And while he just took office as representative of District 18 in January, for 8 years he led the city of Houston as mayor. During that time, he worked closely with former County Judge Ed Emmett, especially after Hurricane Harvey. Marcelino Benito spoke with Emmett about that relationship.
Well, guys, Congressman Turner was a proud Democrat, but that did not define him. He was able to transcend party lines and work with those across the aisle. His relationship with former Harris County Judge Ed Emmett, a Republican, was proof of that. The two leaders were always friends, knowing each other for decades. Both served in the Texas House. But that friendship really grew during Hurricane Harvey in 2017. The two men were the faces that led our region through that crisis. They spent a lot of time together during that event. I talked to the judge earlier this morning about his good friend and former colleague, Sylvester Turner.
Oliver Wendell Holmes, had a quote about those who had gone through the Civil War and said, "We have shared the incommunicable experience of war." Well, Sylvester and I shared the incommunicable experience of Harvey and the disaster. But what made it different with him, and hopefully with me too, was it was never about him. It was always about, okay, what are we going to do to help those people out there who their homes are flooded? And that's all they ever thought about.
The judge told me he spoke to Turner when he heard he was considering running for the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee seat and jokingly told him, "Seriously, are you sure you want to do this again to your life?" Emmett says his friend was a public servant to the very end, and his sudden death still very much a shock. Back to you.
They had a great relationship. Marcelino, thank you so much. Our coverage as the city and country as a whole mourns Congressman Sylvester Turner will continue when we come back.
Are you prepared for the change in seasons? Get your $69 season.
The passing of Congressman Sylvester Turner early this morning. Turner was the former mayor of Houston and a longtime state representative.
We just heard from the former Harris County judge. Devon Roming joins us live now. You heard from the current judge, Lena Hidalgo. What did she have to say?
Yeah, well, both of them are still in shock, as are many people here in Houston and across the country. Both of them worked directly with Congressman Turner and spoke to the legacy he leaves behind. Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo spoke about working with then Mayor Turner through some of the city and county's darkest days, including their time leading during the COVID pandemic, as well as through the deadly freeze of 2021. The judge says Congressman Turner was someone she looked up to with the utmost respect for his work ethic and his dedication to public service. Meanwhile, Precinct 4 Commissioner Leslie Briones recalled her memories of working with Congressman Turner and also shared a personal memory of the influence he had on her 3 children, to the point that she says her oldest daughter asked if Congressman Turner could be her father if her biological parents ever passed away.
On a personal note, I really loved him, appreciated his respect for me and his support of me. And on behalf of the county, our deepest condolences to his family and to so many people that he touched.
And I still, to be honest, I'm processing and struggling to accept that this is really true. For a man who is unstoppable, to know he's no longer with us, but I know his legacy will always endure. And he inspired me, and I know he inspired all of us.
Congressman Turner was elected to the seat left vacant in the 18th Congressional District after the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee passed away last summer. Both Judge Hidalgo and Commissioner Briones say the people in District 18 will not be forgotten during this time after having to endure yet another major loss. In downtown Houston, Devon Rahming, KHOU 11 News.
Thank you, Devon. More on Turner's passing in just a few minutes, but now let's take a look at the forecast.
Let's tell us some more about the wind, Kim. It was crazy
Oh
yesterday, again today.
I know, I even got out of my car and I almost toppled over.
Okay.
Gusts were at 50 miles an hour yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
They're better today.
Okay, good.
And the sunshine's back. It's going to carry us through the remainder of the afternoon. High temperatures are going to get close to 70 degrees area wide. I think Bush Intercontinental Airport maxes out right under that. And we get to enjoy that beautiful sunshine area wide. If you're in Galveston, we're already getting close to 70 degrees. Here's a shot at Pleasure Pier under clear blue sky, 67 degrees there. Katy Freeway camera has a little sun glare, 64 degrees there. Traffic moving smoothly for the Katy Freeway and the Gulf Freeway. Sunset time this evening is going to be 6:23. If you go to the rodeo on Saturday, you still have a pretty early sunset time, 6:25. But if you go on Sunday, you'll notice you get a full extra hour of sunlight for all the festivities. That is because, yes, on Sunday we spring it forward at 2 a.m. It becomes 3 a.m. Here's a look at the next 10 days. We're going to see a little bit of a seesaw in temperatures. So right now we're mild. We're going to be mild again tomorrow. We'll start to warm it up on Friday and Saturday and see another drop in temperatures. Not a huge one, but you know, it'll feel a little bit more fresh. We've got a front that's going to move in there. And then by next week, we start to stair step up closer to the mid 80s, which is well above average for this time of year. Here's a look at the weather systems at play for the next few days. High pressure's in control right now. It is bringing us less wind and plenty of sunshine as high pressure starts to track towards the east. We'll see a couple more clouds. We're still mostly sunny for your Thursday, and wind really relaxes tomorrow. And then we start to switch things up for your Friday. We're going to be tracking a front that's approaching. It's going to squeeze out a little bit more cloud cover and pump in a lot of warmth from the Gulf. We're going to be near 80 degrees on your Friday. And then eventually that front does bring us a couple of isolated shower chances. Only 20% for your Friday. It's going to be mainly north of the I-10 corridor. And then Saturday morning, it'll hike up that rain chance to 30%. Nothing that's going to disrupt your big rodeo weekend plans. So here's a look at the cloud cover increasing on your Thursday. It's really cloudy by Friday morning, and then that's your 20% chance for a couple of isolated showers. Again, we'll have some more rain showers for early Saturday, and that's just about it. If you are going to the rodeo tonight, that high temperature, 69, sunny, still a little breezy. The northwest wind is going to be sustained right around 15 15 to 20 miles an hour. So you still have to hold on to your hat, but not as much as you did yesterday. Overnight lows, 48 degrees in the Heights. If you're in Montrose, you're waking up morning at 49, 45 in Aldine, a little bit cooler further north. 39 degrees in Conroe. That is because the sky is nice and clear, so we see radiational cooling. We start to slowly increase some cloud cover, then eventually increase the rain chances. And then don't forget, on Sunday, we spring it forward. We will see an extra hour of sunlight. We'll be right back after this break.
In sports, to achieve greatness, you go big or go
Legacy left behind by Congressman Sylvester Turner.
He was just in Houston this past weekend to take part in the rodeo parade. Jalissa Garza is at NRG Park, where the rodeo is paying tribute.
Representative Turner was very involved across the city of Houston, including right here at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. This is a post on X from over the weekend. Turner made an appearance at the Rodeo Houston parade Saturday morning. In his post, Turner stated the weather was perfect and he was honored to ride along with fellow congressional colleagues, Representative Sylvia Garcia and Al Green. Rodeo Houston posting on their social media following the news of Turner's passing, reading in part, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the passing of U.S. Congressman and former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, and that Turner was an ardent supporter and friend of the rodeo. His support and commitment to the rodeo's mission will never be forgotten." We continue to see posts on social media from people across the city, whether it's local leaders or community members, everyone expressing their condolences and saddened by the loss of someone who wore many hats over the years. Reporting at NRG Park, Jalissa Garza, KHOU 11 News.
Thank you, Jalissa. Tribute after tribute. Another check on that forecast after this.
I need the excitement. I need the action.
And tomorrow, some scattered showers on Saturday. Sunday, you lose an hour of sleep, but you gain an hour of daylight, guys.
You can. We continue with our coverage of the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner, the former mayor of Houston and a longtime state representative.
We'll have more coverage and reaction to his death streaming right now on our streaming app, KHOU 11+.
Continue with us on KHOU 11+. Download.
We're not hearing programming.
Flags flying at half-staff at City Hall in honor of Sylvester Turner, the former mayor of Houston and current congressman. He died at 70. Hello and thanks for joining us this afternoon on KHOU 11+. I'm Marcelino Benito alongside Reka Mudaraj, and we continue to follow the sudden, unexpected death of Congressman and former Mayor Sylvester Turner. His family confirming in their first official statement just last hour that he died early this morning in Washington, D.C.
Mayor John Whitmire addressing Turner's death in this morning's City Council meeting. Let's listen to that.
Council, come to order. It's my duty as the mayor to confirm that Congressman Sylvester Turner, our former mayor, state representative for 24 years, passed away last night. He was working in Washington and was taken to the hospital, and he passed. I've asked flags at City Hall, all city buildings, and encourage flags across Houston to be lowered to half-mast. This comes as a shock to everyone. I would ask Houstonians to come together, pray for his family, join us in celebrating this remarkable public servant, celebrate his life, which we will be doing.
Yeah, Mayor John Whitmire there speaking about Sylvester Turner's death. Congressman Turner, someone he has known for a very long time during their political careers out of Houston. Stephen Goen joining us now with the very latest on Congressman Turner's death. Sudden for a lot of folks.
Right, we've been looking into his final moments, and it appears he was really working up until the very end. We know last night he actually posted a picture to his social media with the person he was going to bring as his guest to the president's joint address to Congress. Later he did actually, there's a video right there, later he did attend the address, but we have learned now that he had to leave. He was taken to the hospital and then later released. That's according to his family. And then they tell us that later this morning around 5:45 a.m., the congressman did die from enduring health complications. We're still working to find out what exactly those health complications were, and we don't know exactly why Turner was released from the hospital. We know, of course, he had a long battle with cancer previously, but we don't know if his death was caused by some other health emergency. We're trying to find answers on that. But as you mentioned, very unexpected for his family. They are asking for prayers now.
It's going to be so important to lay out the timeline of what happened here.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll talk to Len Kennett about this earlier, but during our earlier coverage, we heard from Len that he actually texted with Congressman Turner last night during this joint address to Congress. It was around 8:27 last night. The congressman texted back. So at 8:27 last night, in that speech in Congress, he was okay. He was well enough to respond. It's going to be interesting to see what happened after happened after that.
And other people we've spoken to, like Representative Al Green, they said that they were on the floor with him that night. So very unexpected for a lot of people who were communicating with him all last night.
Yeah, as they saw him, he was taken to the hospital and he came home, and that's where he passed. And so a lot of folks have questions about that. But I know in the last few years, as he was battling cancer, he was still clearly out and about. He made an appearance at the rodeo. He's been out there. So again, a lot of folks thinking this is very sudden, and we're very saddened to hear about his passing. Stephen Cohen, thank you so much. We have much more coverage. We're talking now about former Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo, who has also spoken out about Congressman Turner's death. Here's Devon Raming.
Yeah, well, both of them are still in shock, as are many people here in Houston and across the country. Both of them worked directly with Congressman Turner and spoke to the legacy he leaves behind. Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo spoke about working with then Mayor Turner through some of the city and county's darkest days, including their time leading during the COVID pandemic, as well as through the deadly freeze of 2021. The judge says Congressman Turner was someone she looked up to with the utmost respect for his work ethic and his dedication to public service. Meanwhile, Precinct 4 Commissioner Leslie Briones recalled her memories of working with Congressman Turner and also shared a personal memory of the influence he had on her 3 children, to the point that she says her oldest daughter asked if Congressman Turner could be her father if her biological parents ever passed away.
On a personal note, I really loved him, appreciated his respect for me and his support of me. And on behalf of the county, our deepest condolences to his family and to so many people that he touched.
And I still, to be honest, I'm processing and struggling to accept that this is really true. For a man who is unstoppable, to know he's no longer with us, but I know his legacy will always endure. And he inspired me, and I know he inspired all of us.
Congressman Turner was elected to the seat left vacant in the 18th Congressional District after the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee passed away last summer. Both Judge Hidalgo and Commissioner Briones say the people in District 18 will not be forgotten during this time after having to endure yet another major loss. In downtown Houston, Devon Raming, KHOU 11 News.
Yeah, just in the last few hours, a lot of folks coming out to express their condolences and the impact that Turner has had on their own political careers. But of course, Turner's former colleagues made the announcement about his passing this morning.
Yeah, Victor Jacobo was at City Hall as that announcement was made. Victor, we played that video earlier. You could hear the mayor's announcement. You could see it on his face. The mayor pro temp as well. You could see it on her face. How are folks feeling down at City Hall?
Yeah, Marcelino and Reka, it's a very somber mood here at City Hall. Again, this was a regularly scheduled city council meeting, and so it was a pure happenstance that some of the people who have worked most closely with Sylvester Turner over the years, whether that's as his role as a state representative, as a mayor, or as a congressman, were all gathered here today. It turned into a bit of a eulogy during this council meeting. The mayor made his announcements at the beginning. They broke for about an hour, him allowing the council members to kind of gather themselves, gather their thoughts. They came back around 10 in the morning and handled some of the business of the very short agenda. And then through the traditional city council pop-off, many of the council members shared their memories, their thoughts of Sylvester Turner and the impact that he had on their lives, either again working through with him as his time in mayor or as a congressperson, or really just as a friend and mentor for many of them through their lives, and them eventually moving their careers now to the Horseshoe. People speaking through sobs and through tears, and speaking not just of him as a public servant, but also as a dear friend and mentor. Take a listen to what the mayor and some of the other city council members had to say today.
It's a terrible loss for the city of Houston. It's a personal loss for me.
I am heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. It's a sad day. It's a very sad day. Houston won't be the same without Mayor Turner, Congressman Turner.
As you heard, there are a lot of emotion among the different city council members discussing their thoughts and reaction to the passing of Sylvester Turner. Mayor Whitmire announcing that flags, as you heard earlier, will be at half-mast in order to honor him, but certainly now more honors to come for the former mayor, former state representative, and Congressman Sylvester Turner. Marcelino, Rika, I'll send it back to you.
Victor, Mayor Whitmire in recent years, especially as he assumed the role of mayor, had been slightly critical of, of the past mayor, but we know they were very, very close friends. He sort of addressed that earlier today. Could you talk some about the relationship between Whitmire and former Mayor Turner? They had a long-lasting relationship through several decades.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You're talking about two titans of Houston politics here when you talk about Sylvester Turner and John Whitmire. And Whitmire, in his remarks, both at the beginning of City Council, and he also had a press availability afterwards, talking about how they have worked on campaigns, and they have worked even when John Whitmire was a young 20-something entering the world of politics, and how Sylvester Turner had an influence on him. They, said that they disagreed at times, but it was never personal, that at the core of their relationship was a friendship and was something that they truly valued in order to really share in their love for the city of Houston and the people of the city of Houston. And that was something that was truly never wavering, despite the kind of public perception of them sometimes being at odds. He said that was kind of, John Whitmire was aware of that perception, but he said that, that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to politics sometimes. But he says that certainly Sylvester Turner was a dear friend and a mentor, was one way he described him through their many relationships, both professionally and personally. And some of the other city council members, again, not just about how they work within these very halls of City Hall, but also through personal things. I spoke with District D council member Carolyn Evans-Shabazz. She was telling me that her family in the past had gone through a crisis of some sorts with a health scare with a family member, and Sylvester Turner was there to help in whatever way he could. And certainly there was many stories that different council members shared about how he touched them in their personal lives. They also touted how he made sure to be a man of the people and take time to speak to members of the public, and always taking time to listen to what his constituents have to say. So certainly these are some of the folks who worked most closely with him, and a lot of shock. Many people still processing what this loss is. But again, unexpected. The hustle and bustle of politics kind of came to a halt today for city council members to kind of stop and reflect. And one message they kind of were sharing was that there's a lot of swift changes, and it just kind of puts things in perspective to be mindful of those who are around you, and share how you feel about them, and share the love for those who are near and dear to you.
Yeah, it's not surprising that there are so many emotions down at City Hall. Sylvester Turner died as a congressman, but perhaps most known as mayor of Houston for 8 years, and people know of his service to the city. He's been doing it for most of his political life, but as mayor seemed to have made the most impact and to have dealt with some of the biggest hurdles in his political career. So obviously a lot of folks at City Hall very sad today to hear about his passing. Yeah, Victor, if I could just ask you another question, just talking about the personal relationship between Whitmire. In those remarks, he addressed that, former Mayor Turner had asked Whitmire to speak at his mother's funeral. They knew each other's kids. I mean, this is a relationship that went way back. Could you talk about some of the personal notes that Mayor Whitmire shared about his friendship with Turner?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Marcelino. They were talking about, being at each other's children's significant life moments, whether that was birth or birthday parties, different major life events, and that kind of highlighted again that while maybe in the public sphere they had disagreements and had to go about the business of representing each of their various constituents and jurisdictions, that personally they did share a close friendship. And like you said, having to go into something that socially is seen as a very high important event, such as whether it's weddings or births and things like that, to go to each other and be there for those times is certainly a highlight and a very clear depiction of just how much each of these men valued each other in their lives. Again, not just as friends, but really as mentors and leaders of this city.
Yeah, Victor Jacobo at City Hall, thanks so much. Whitmire also saying no one introduced him more throughout his political career than former Mayor Turner. It was always him who introduced him. So
absolutely.
Special relationship. Turner, of course, dedicated his life to serving his hometown of Houston.
Yeah, Jason Miles in Acres home where Sylvester Turner grew up. He was a Klein High School grad. He went to the University of Houston. Very much a man of Houston through and through. Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, I interviewed a longtime friend and supporter Bishop James Dixon here at Dixon's Church a short time ago. Dixon was heading downtown for a news conference with some other folks from Turner's circle. But we've been speaking with constituents, too, people who just live in the Acres Home area. Take a look. We met Raynetta Glenn over at the Acres Homes Multi-Service Center. It's kind of a hub, if you will, of this community where former Mayor Turner grew up and still had a home. Actually, Turner lived not far from where I'm standing. Glenn recalled working with him on various projects along with other elected leaders. She told me he would always be engaged, even when the cameras were not there. Here's a little of what she had to say.
Effective, community-based, lover of God, a person that was true to his word and did a lot for the community and will be remembered as one of Acres Home's favorite sons.
To say the least. We actually also ran into a elderly gentleman over at that multi-service center earlier today. He happened to be using a walker. He said Mayor Turner, then Mayor Turner, actually helped repair some sidewalks in the area. So another personal remembrance or reflection of a man who served so many, as we know, for so long. On the north side, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
Yeah, Jason, Congressman Turner would do a lot of speaking engagements, and he never failed to mention that he was from Acres Homes, that he grew up in Acres Homes, that he raised his daughter, Ashley, in Acres Homes, even after going on to, be valedictorian at Klein High School, to go on to U of H, to go to Harvard Law, to be in private practice. He never forgot his roots. He never forgot where he grew up. He never forgot the community that he says raised him. So obviously a lot of folks in that community are devastated today to hear that news. Can you tell us a little bit more about his years, especially as mayor? He would go out to Acres Homes often. He would visit often. He would be in the community with folks out there. What else are folks out there saying to you about his passing?
Yeah, definitely a touchstone for this community and someone other generations could look up to. In fact, I heard a story earlier today from the lady we interviewed about some young school children who had a class project to kind of illustrate and honor Acres Homes natives, Sylvester Turner certainly being among them. So they did a little project with drawings and other remembrances and what they knew of the then mayor. Obviously, his notoriety extended beyond several decades and several generations. In fact, not far from here is Sylvester Turner Park. So a park named in his honor, certainly as he was still with us, but a way this Acres Homes community could honor, if you would, a native son.
Jason, this news, of course, coming as a shock to all of Houston. I can imagine that shock really in focus in Acres Homes, where he was a native son. Could you talk about that part of this? How are they taking it in terms of the suddenness of his death? No one expected this today.
Yeah, we all knew Mayor Turner, or former Mayor Turner, was ill. He was dealing with a cancer diagnosis, in fact, and had long-term effects from that. But even Bishop Dixon tells me he spoke with Turner just in the last few days, saw him at a recent gala here in town, knew he participated in the rodeo parade over the weekend, and was at the rodeo cook-off, in fact, I think last Friday evening. But as we've heard, others texted as recently as last night and thought Mayor Turner was still, active and doing his job, which he was. But it just goes to show that how suddenly something can happen, and perhaps it had nothing to do with his ongoing illness, but that has yet to be determined, obviously. Dixon, who's known Turner since Dixon was 18 years old, so they met back in the 80s or even earlier, tells me he's teared up a few times today, knowing his friend was ill, but knowing his legacy can't probably be repeated anytime soon. So he is among many in this area in particular mourning Turner's passing.
That shock reverberating across Houston and the country today. Jason Miles, thanks so much. Now, as Jason just mentioned, Turner was just in Houston this past weekend to take part in the rodeo parade.
Yeah, Jalissa Garza at Energy Park, where the rodeo is now paying tribute. Jalissa.
Representative Turner was very involved across the city of Houston, including right here at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. This is a post on X from over the weekend. Turner made an appearance at the Rodeo Houston parade Saturday morning. In his post, Turner stated the weather was perfect and he was honored to ride along with fellow congressional colleagues, Representative Sylvia Garcia and Al Green. Rodeo Houston posting on their social media following the news of Turner's passing, reading in part, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the passing of U.S. Congressman and former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, and that Turner was an ardent supporter and friend of the rodeo. His support and commitment."
Now to a news conference where local leaders are speaking about Congressman Turner's death. Let's listen in.
Of course, it's tragic that we'll never see what that final chapter in his public policy career would really have written in the pages of history. But he got off to a great start. I'm here with a lot of good friends. And obviously, our condolences go out to Ashley, the entire Turner family, including Cheryl. I know that Ashley's mother is with her, and she's going to be headed up to say her farewell to her dad in our nation's capital. It was a shock to all of us when we found out. I think the statement from the family is going to go out shortly, or it may have just gone out. But all of us are grieving. And it is a shock, but we will move forward. I'm confident that Representative, Congressman, former Mayor Sylvester Turner went out the way he would want to go out, working. Can you imagine being at the State of the Union address and being part of the effort to figure out what the strategy would be in terms of public policy going forward? But just a great legacy. And for me, obviously, a very personal friend. There are a lot of good people here, and I want to turn it over to Bishop Dixon. I may tip out shortly, but I'm so glad that the judge is here, other religious leaders, and some close friends. Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter obviously has gone through this twice. I was telling Erica I was just fine when I got the word, you know, sort of like my mayor, Congressman, we want to hold up in public, and I saw that resolution in his office. Out of all of the things he'd have up there, Bishop, on his deal was that resolution I sent from him. If I'd known it meant that much to him, I'd have signed it a second time. But let me turn this over to Bishop Dixon.
A giant has fallen in Houston, and we feel the reverberations of that as a giant tree falls in the forest. Everything around it shakes. And today we are in Houston, and as Texans and Americans grappling with the fact that such a giant as Sylvester Turner has fallen. As our Commissioner Rodney Ellis, thank you for calling us together today along with these leaders. Our county judge is here, Judge Hidalgo, who I know will express herself. We've got pastors here as well who will express themselves, along with community leaders, Carl Davis and Gerald Womack and others, Linda Brown. We're all family. And you know, when you think about Sylvester Turner, I've known him since the 80s. We both had hair. And we've grown up together as public servants. He as a legislator, me as an agitator. All of his elections, from running for county commissioner to mayor, each of those 3 times, state representative elections, as well as, of course, his run for Congress. And our condolences to his family, to Ashley and the family, and certainly even now to our sister and niece, Erica Lee Carter, who stands here in a place that's too difficult for us to understand. I want to simply say this. Sylvester Turner was a public servant of rare ilk, servant. He was a rare human being, an intellectual, who understood cultural nuances across the board. Judge, he could be anywhere in Houston or the nation and feel at home. And but he was not merely political; he was a statesman. Sylvester Turner cared so much about people that even if you did not disagree with him politically, he still regarded and respected your humanity. And I think that that's one element that we never want to forget about him. And then finally, we knew that he had challenges, and you could ask him how he was doing. He would say, "I'm fine. I'll be good. I'm all right." His last public speech that I think happened was at the Houston NSB Gala just a little over a week ago. And Al Green and I, Congressman Green, brought him up on stage to make a speech. And my God, in only Sylvester Turner's fashion, he preached in that 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. We'll miss him. His voice, his vigor, and he was a victor. He never allowed his challenges to become his chains. He was a champion while challenged. And that's how I remember my brother. My children know him as Uncle Sylvester. They've never called him mayor. They never called him state rep, a congressman, just Uncle Sylvester. So a family member and a friend, a brother, and a champion for the people. At this time, I would ask, of course, our county judge to come, and Judge Lena Dalco, who rushed here to bring the power of her presence here on behalf of the family.
Thank you, Bishop, and everybody here. I know we're all grieving together and alongside the community, and Bishop and Commissioner Eric, I know you guys have known him for a long time, and I met him when he was mayor. I didn't meet State Representative Turner, but we got to know each other real quick, and we would joke. We went through hell and high water, because we really did. We started out with the ITC fire, and then we had the floods and the winter freeze and COVID. I mean, talk about getting to know somebody under tough circumstances. And I got to know him really well, and I got to know his leadership, and it's what's been said. He was a very, very intelligent person, strategic, good at maintaining his relationships, but most importantly, he cared about the community. He remembered where he came from. He cared about mentoring others. He was respectful. He was kind. I struggled to realize that he's gone. I went to call Congresswoman Jackson Lee when I first heard we lost him, and so obviously couldn't do that. So it's a big time of tragedy for the 18th Congressional District, for our community as a whole. I know for just in general, all the folks around them both. It has been a very, very difficult time, but I believe we'll get through this together. Of course, they've asked for prayers, so I ask the community, pray for the family, pray for his congressional district, pray for his friends and his loved ones, and everyone he's represented throughout his career. And let's just hold that family in strength and in love. And I will miss him. I will miss my mayor, the congressman that I supported as he was sworn in. We went through so much, and he taught me that as well, Bishop. I called him in the middle of the height of the attacks against me and just the most horrible things. And I said, Mayor, how have you done this for all these decades? How do you put up with this stuff? And I jotted down what he said. I've got it in my notes somewhere, because he just said, you can't let them get to you. You can't let them get to you. And that's just the key to being able to sustain this kind of a political career. And I think I finally managed to figure out how to do that. But whenever I couldn't, I would look at that. And, I thought he would say, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. That's so tough. But he just said, nope. You want to stay in this business, you can't let them get to you. So anyway, I will miss you, Mayor, Congressman, and my friend Sylvester Turner.
Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter. We're so honored to have her here today.
Thank you. This is a very bitter pill to swallow. But he was a man of great faith. which gave him great courage and great purpose. And he lived that faith every day. And so I'm trying to hold on to that thought that my mom, the late Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee, who had great faith, is now rejoined by her great friend, two warriors for justice. To the family, I do extend my deepest condolences. He loved them dearly. He spoke of them often. He loved that grandson that we now must remember to make sure he knows the legacy of his grandfather, a statesman, a man of all Houston, who always held down the FOFO.
Always.
So to the FOFO and to the 18th Congressional District, it was my honor to pass the baton to Sylvester Turner. It's my honor to stand with you in mourning and know that our legacy will continue. We will keep working on all our nooks and crannies because he would want it no other way. He's depending on us to keep working for the purpose, the people, the equity, the justice that our community needs. And so I will miss him forever. And I just love him. Thank you.
The need for prayer is what this family has requested, and we are doing that on their behalf. We're grateful to have ministers here today. Pastor Ralph West, the pastor of the Church of the Walls, Brook Hollow Church, is Sylvester Turner's pastor for the last 35 years. I was just talking to him on the way. He could not get here at this moment, but he sends his prayers and his support to this gathering. And he would share with me, Rodney, that Sylvester Turner was the featured member at the bingo location. Every Sunday, he would be there and the most vibrant, enthusiastic member in the congregation. And I want to remember Sylvester like that. We knew that he was a man of faith, as Erica just mentioned, a man of prayer. And so it's befitting that we're praying for someone who's a member of the Christian family, the faith family, as well. I want to ask Pastor to introduce yourself, and then Pastor Clemens will lead us in. But before the pastor comes, come on, Constable. Thomas will come first, please. I'm so sorry.
I am heartbroken at the loss of not just our mayor and congressman, but a friend. As I shared at City Hall during pop-off, that more work that we were able to do so much together on the west side. All of the calls, the late night calls, the negotiations, and we always found laughter in the midst of very hard things. He had a great personality, and I remember his last State of the City, and it was so full, and I remember him saying that I gave you all that I could give you. I gave you all I have, and he did, and he'll be forever known as the People's Mayor. No matter what, forever, no matter what his title, he's the People's Mayor. And I remember even after he was no longer in office, people were lined up just to shake his hand and still take a photo as if he was still the mayor. That's how they loved him. And so I am definitely heartbroken. I am still trying to recover from the loss of our late Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson Lee, and to now have another political icon, Houston icon, leave us when there was just so much excitement about what he would be able to do for the people of the Texas Congressional 18th District. So I join my heart with Ashley and Jimmy and Baby and his ex-wife Cheryl and all of them and his close-knit family, his siblings, everyone he went to school with, because I know that they are just as much in heartbreak and they have to navigate this time. And so thank you for allowing me to share remarks and join you for this moment. This will definitely be a tough one. It'll definitely be a tough one.
Thank you, Bishop. Pastor Montari Morrison, Living's New Faith, also president of Ministers Coalition of Harris County and vicinity. I was very pleased to be asked to come and have a word of prayer for such a great friend, a great statesman. I'm proud to say that he was a statesman and saved, a man of a great heart. Let us bow together. O thou, the spring of all of our comfort, you're more than life to us. Who have we on earth beside thee? Who in heaven but thee? We call on you now, God, because there's no one else that can help us. There's no one else that can help us to bear the burden of this sudden loss. That can help us live through this gut punch of something that we didn't see coming. The extent of our pain testifies of the extent of our love that we had and that we still have for the great Sylvester Turner. We only can imagine the pain of his family who knew him more, better, who saw really how great of a man he was. God, we just ask that you not only help that family, help this city.
Yes, Lord.
Allow this to be an awakening that we can get away from tribalism and bigotry.
Yes, yes, Lord.
And name calling.
Yes, yes.
No matter the elephant or the donkey beside,
Yes.
we can love each other.
Yes, Lord.
And we can treat every human being with a common decency that is afforded to every human. He was that person. He was a person that could sit in the regal of places and still sit on the park bench and take us home and have a conversation. Thank you for his example. Allow it to be a beacon light for future legislators. Not only legislators, but all people.
Oh, yes, Lord.
Let us not be defined by education or defined by a tax bracket. But let us see each other as brothers and sisters, one and the same. And God, we ask for the days going forward that you would be a hedge of protection around those who will make decisions. Let no dissension or division or anything beset them, but that you would keep them calm and fully supported, fully loved. And let this entire world show the national treasure that Sylvester Turner was. It is in your mighty name of Jesus Christ we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Before we closed, Pastor Clemens is a senior pastor amongst us, pastors in the 5th Ward, and has been in this 18th Congressional District all of his life. We would have him to give a benedictory word and praying for the staff here locally and nationally of the 18th Congressional District. And as he comes to do that, we'll give one final salute before we leave. Pastor Clemens.
Thank you, Bishop. If you see our tears, it is not because our friend was a state representative or a mayor or a congressperson. It is because he was our friend.
Right.
We don't cry necessarily because we lost a great statesman. We cry because we lost a friend.
Yes, yes.
A scholarly friend. And of all the decisions that he made in his life to help suffering humanity, the greatest decision that he made was to become a believer.
Yes, Lord.
We know that he was a genuine believer because of the evidence that he left in his legacy and the people he touched, with whom he worked with. We've had the privilege to see the people that he chose to surround himself with, and to see the love that they had for him and the love that they had for the work that he does. And so that that work might continue, I've been asked that we would whisper a prayer on their behalf.
Yes, yes.
Prayer is always better when it is collective.
Yes.
Because wherever 2 or 3 are gathered,
Yes, Lord.
it comes with a promise. If they're touching and agreeing, is that the Lord has promised that he would be in the midst of it. If there is any one thing we need at this moment, is to feel the presence of our God.
Yes, Lord.
It is with much gratitude, Father, that we come to you. It's at moments like these that we have many, many questions. But then when we think about your word,
Yes,
that you so loved the world that you gave your only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish,
Yes, Lord.
but shall have eternal life. And that is our joy
Yes.
in a moment like this. That staff in Washington, that staff here in the district,
Yes.
those individuals who are near and dear to him, we pray, God, that you would give them the benefit of your presence.
Yes, Lord.
Let them feel you in a way that they had never felt you before. Let this be a moment that where we read that Isaiah said that it was in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord.
Yes, yes.
And he was high and lifted up.
Yes.
Let us be able to whisper those same words, and the staff as well. It was in the year that Sylvester Turner died. We saw the Lord.
Yes, Lord.
And it is with that joy that we push on. It is with that joy that we ask God that you would bless his staff,
Yes.
his family.
Yes, Lord.
God, that you would nurture them now.
Yes.
And nurture us as well.
Yes, Lord.
This is each of our prayer, all in our own way, but many of us in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen, and amen.
I want to acknowledge Linda Brown,
Yes.
amongst all the other friends who have been with Sylvester Turner, Rhonda, all of you so much, Nicholas, all of us have been with him for decades. And I want to say that there would have been no Sylvester Turner without the support system of family and friends who've been loyalists with him for all these years and decades. And it goes to show us that none of us are self-made. And Sylvester would always acknowledge the people who have stood by him. We're praying for Ashley and the family as they work through this, and asking that the public respects their privacy as they ponder and process. And then at some point they will come forth with official word as to what next steps will be.
And hold the politics until then.
And I was about to say, well, can we please not turn this into a political theater at the cost of the family's peace.
Yes.
And
the dignity
and the
of
dignity,
the
the dignity of the 18th, and the dignity of a man
Yes.
whose service was not merely to people of one district or of any particular neighborhood in the district, but that people across this entire nation
Yes.
whose lives are better, black, white, brown, Democrat, Republican, because he lived to serve humanity with that level of respect and love.
Yes.
Can we please refrain from any cheap political conversations, social media, on radio or on television, or even over a coffee table? Just let's be honorable as we honor a man who deserves it on behalf of his family.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you all very, very much. Any questions from the press?
Bishop Dixon, is there anything that you can share? I heard that the commissioner mentioned briefly that the family is headed to D.C. right now. Is that correct? Have you had a chance to connect with them at all?
I've spoken with his daughter, with Ashley, and as some others have as well. She is in the process of going to D.C., as you've heard.
And I know it's a bit early to ask, but is there people are wanting to know and ways to honor the former mayor, and congressman, any kind of services or any word of that yet?
No word of anything like that at all. It is much too early, much too soon. But I would say the way to honor Sylvester Turner is by treating each other with the utmost love and respect. Yes. And why don't we just commit to doing something that this nation needs more of today, and that is seeing people as brothers and sisters in the human family, as opposed to politicizing each other's presence and each other's identity. I think that will honor Sylvester Turner in a way that is of the highest level.
Now, I know that the commissioner said, quote, he went out the way he wanted to go out, working. If there's anything else you want to add to that, because he's a lifelong public servant, and to the very end.
Sylvester Turner, like his sister Sheila Jackson Lee.
We've been listening to city, county, and faith leaders remember Sylvester Turner as we heard news of his death this morning. That's Bishop James Dixon, who is speaking right now. Earlier, he said Sylvester Turner was not only an intellectual, but also a people person. And we knew that seeing Mr. Turner out and about in the community, both as a congressman, as a mayor, and his long, storied political career. We heard earlier from Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, who said that Sylvester Turner went out the way he wanted to go out, which was working. He was working right up until the end.
We're joined now by Len Cannon. And Len, I was just thinking as we watched that press conference, how many press conferences just like that we've covered, and Sylvester Turner has been right at the center of that podium, being the voice that led us through these types of moments. And now, unfortunately, his sudden passing that took us all by surprise.
Yeah, I know we've said this often today. It is quite a shock. I talked to Sylvester on the phone just 2 weeks ago. He called me, wanted to talk about something. He had a story idea. Texted him last night. You mentioned it earlier, about 8:27, while he was at the president's address. And so this came as a shock when I found out this morning that he had passed, because clearly he was okay at 8:27, and then of course we know he wasn't feeling well and went to the hospital from the Capitol. I wrote down some notes, and I hope you'll follow me. It has been an eventful 3 years for Sylvester Turner. He was diagnosed with cancer in 2022. He survived, returned to work as mayor. I interviewed him in 2023, just weeks before his term was up as mayor. He told me then, I'm about to take an exit ramp from public life. He said, I'm taking 2024 off. He was going to work on a book. He was waiting on the arrival of a grandchild. He was invited to lecture and teach at the Harvard, at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, where he went to law school, as you mentioned earlier. Everything was set up for him to kind of step back and enjoy the fruits of his labor, so to speak, and not be harried with public life. And then, of course, the loss of his dear friend, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. That's when I followed up with another interview, and he said, if not for her passing, this is not something I would be interested in, because he told me in an interview in 2023, I am not interested in running for Congress if she were to win the mayor's race when she was running. And so that changed with her passing. The family supported him. He said, I'm going to do it for 2 terms. I asked him then, how is your health? People are wondering about your cancer diagnosis. Sheila Jackson Lee, we just lost. How are you feeling? He said, I'm fine. My doctors have given me the all clear. So whether his death is related to the cancer from 3 years ago, we don't know. It'd be pure speculation. But we do know that was his most recent health scare that we are aware of. We'll have to wait and hear what doctors have to say as to exactly what happened after he left the hospital this morning.
As we discussed earlier in this program, that TikTok of the timeline will be critical in finding out what happened here. I mean, he was literally texting you at 8:27 during that speech. He responded to you, ends up at the hospital, is sent home, and then dies a few hours later in his home.
So, and I was texting him because, you know, Congressman Al Green was just escorted out of the Capitol because he stood up in defiance, said something to President Trump, but you couldn't hear him. You couldn't hear Congressman Green. So I texted Sylvester Turner, Congressman Turner, and I said, hey, what is he saying? And of course later Al Green went out and spoke to the media what he was protesting. And I said, I need the Congressman Al Green's number, and he sent me the number. And I said, great, thanks. Okay, and that was it. So you just never know.
Yeah.
In life, you just never know. I hate to get philosophical, but it's it's very sad. It's very unexpected. He was a true son of Acres Homes. I've been to his home there several times for interviews. He was always gracious. He joked. He laughed. And he loved, and I pointed this out earlier, he loved being mayor.
Yes.
I interviewed him in the final weeks. We walked out of City Hall, and I said, Mr. Mayor, this is one of the last times you'll walk out of City Hall as mayor. He looked at me and goes, can I run again? Can I run again? I said, you like it that much? He goes, absolutely. I said, why? I said, you get some of the credit and all the blame. He said, that's politics. I can live with it. So he reveled in it. He reveled in the job. He reveled in the responsibilities. And he had quite a run in public service.
Yeah, he wanted it badly. He ran in 1991, in 2003, running in 2015, re-election in 2019. He wanted that spot so badly, but he was always working toward bettering things for folks in Houston. Whether if he was doing it at the state legislature when he had those, crushing political defeats in those mayoral races, he'd always come back to that because he really believed in the folks in the city of Houston and also, of course, of Acres Homes. He really wanted to do his best for the folks there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he did, he went to Harvard Law School. He was in private practice. So he was working at a major law firm here. Yes. A lucrative career, So why would you go to, hold a public office, which is significantly less lucrative? And he really believed in public service, and his tenacity and his need to be there and to be a sort of a beacon of light for folks here was something that just drove him to do that.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about his history.
Yeah.
It kind of mirrored Sheila Jackson Lee, who was not from here. She was from New York City.
Yeah.
But she got a law degree. She was in private practice. She switched to politics. And so they became kindred spirits early on, both with the desire to be in public service. They had this similar track. They had a similar background. They're lawyers. And so the interview I did with him, that was the most emotional I've ever seen him about the loss of Sheila Jackson Lee, because he spoke to her just a few days before her passing, and he just broke down in tears. And he said then, look, I said, well, what did you say to her? He said, I told her, you have laid it all out there. You've done it all. We will take it from here. And he was very emotional about it. And so he was looking forward to the next, 2-4 years in Congress, as he said. And so, again, shocking news today that we have lost someone who served in state government and the city for 30 plus years.
That was one of the most powerful moments of this last press conference. We just heard hearing from Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter saying that her mother and Sylvester Turner were both people of faith, and she tries to get some comfort in knowing that two warriors for justice, is how she called them, are reunited now. But a tough time for her as well, just recently after losing her mother.
Yeah. So, you've got two losses in the 18th Congressional District, which is historical. You've had a series of incredible people serve in that district. Mickey Leland, Barbara Jordan, Craig Washington, and then came Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who was there for nearly 30 years, followed by the former mayor, Sylvester Turner. Looking forward, the question now is, who takes over the 18th Congressional District? Who fills in that seat that has been so well represented by some very well-known politicians?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Len. We appreciate it.
All right, it looks like we have State Representative Jean Wu on the phone right now. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi. We've got State Rep Jean Wu on the phone. You can hear us, correct?
Yes.
Hi. We are all mourning the passing of Congressman Sylvester Turner, and I'm wondering how you received the news about his death.
When I first heard about it, I think I was in complete denial. I kept asking people to please double check, please confirm, because I didn't want it to be true. When I was on the floor earlier, I told our members that I'm just simply devastated by this, and I'm feeling very numb right now. Not just for the loss of, I think, someone who was a great colleague in the House, not just someone who was a great mayor, and represented our communities well. But Sylvester was my friend, and more than my friend, he was my mentor. He was my advisor, and frankly, even before I became a state representative, before I got elected, he was one of my heroes, and he still is one of my heroes. And even before I went into the legislature, I knew his name, because if you fight for people who are poor, you fight for people who are working class people, you fight for people who have nothing and who get stepped on, his name is the name that comes up when people ask who defends these communities, who protects them. His name always comes up. And when I was in the legislature, we saw that time and time and time again, where he would go to battle and fight for the people who had the least voice, who had the least power, and absolutely no money. And that's why he's my hero. And I'm very, very grateful that I was able to spend any amount of time with him, because he is such a wonderful, loving, and caring person, and someone who, if I tell people if people ask me who want to run for office, who want to be in public life, they ask me, why should you do it? I would point to him. It's like, be like Sylvester. Be him. Be like, run because you love your community and you love the people there, and you want them to do better. You want them to be safe and to have a great future. And you will fight every single day to make sure that happens. And I hope that Sylvester lives in our memories as a reminder of what public service truly looks like, of what being a selfless and dedicated public servant looks like. He was a man who was few and far between like him, and I'm frankly just honored to have known him in my life, and I think the entire state of Texas, if not the whole nation, is going to feel his loss.
State Representative Wu, can you give us a sense of the mood up in Austin right now? As you mentioned, he served there for so many years, very well known among legislators. So what's the mood as this news broke early this morning?
I think especially among members who have served here for a long time, who had the privilege of serving with him before he became mayor, this news is just, it's simply heartbreaking, because we all knew what kind of person he was, and the dedication that he put into all the jobs that he did in public service. And I mean, for example, for me, I mean, it wasn't just about that. I mean, he was so helpful. He was so nice to everyone, and even as a long-time veteran member, he never hesitated one time when people would go up to him and say, "Would you help me with this? Could you answer these questions? Could you help me understand what's going on, how to work on this?" One of my favorite pictures I have hanging in my office is the picture of us from the first session, where I sat at his desk. I remember this exact moment, even though I didn't know they were taking the picture, but I sat next to him for like 30 minutes, just walking over a bill that I was working on. And he very patiently just answered dumb freshman question after dumb freshman question, and helped me work it out. And, it is not often that we have people like that.
Sylvester Turner really was a wonderful example, taught others through setting setting an example and conducting himself at the highest levels. Is there something, Representative Wu, that he taught you about his life in public service?
I think one of the important lessons he taught me was how to work things in the legislature and how to use leverage and how to argue and negotiate with people in a nice way. And he was always somebody who, he would yell about stuff on the public mic, but then he would go into the back hallways and work out deals and take care of the things that needed taken care of. And we would go into the budget negotiations and like there's no money for this or that people really need, and we're doomed and nothing's how we're going to fix this and everything. And then Sylvester walked out of the room and says, "We took care of it." And that's all he needed to do. He took care of it. And he taught me how to go to those back rooms and work with people and talk with them and convince them that what you wanted was what they needed to do. I'll always be grateful for that.
Yeah, Sylvester Turner, obviously a lifelong Democrat, but was known in the state legislature for often caucusing with Republicans. He always did what he needed to do for his constituents, and that is something that people on both sides of the aisle have mentioned in the hours after we have learned about his death. State Representative Jean Wu, thank you so much for dialing in and talking to us today.
Thank you so much.
And Rekha, these are the stories that we've been hearing all day. Earlier in our coverage, I mentioned on a personal level my experience with Congressman Turner. I met him before he was mayor. He was still a state legislator. I just started at KHOU back in 2014. I met him in 2015. You'll recall he came to the studio over on Allen Parkway for a debate we were hosting. First time I met him, interviewed him, super gracious, super kind. And every time you would see him at an event or if you'd go out to interview him, every time we had a conversation, he really honed in on respecting who he was speaking with and also really conscious of what was going on in our own lives. I remember every significant milestone he would comment, when I got married, when I had a baby, when my mother passed just 2 years ago. He was super friendly and sending me private messages, expressing his condolences. That's just the type of man he was with everyone he came across, a true people person.
Absolutely. He spoke, he was the keynote speaker at a recent engagement that I went to, and tough for a lot of people to see because he did appear to be frail, but man, his spirit was strong. And one of the things that I took away from his speech was everyone has to help each other. I think he made that very clear to the folks in the audience, saying, he was obviously very smart. He was valedictorian in his high school. He got into, he went to school at the University of Houston, went to Harvard Law, but said at Harvard Law, folks there saw him and said, hey, you need to do this to get a leg up. You need to take these classes. These are the people you need to talk to. And he very much wanted to pay it forward, and that was through his work in public service. So a lot of folks mourning his death today.
Yeah, a huge loss for the city of Houston. Thank you all for joining us on KHOU 11+.
We'll have continuing coverage online, and we'll be back on air for KHOU 11 News at 4.